workshop meeting to order on Monday, April 26th. And the first item is the superintendent evaluation discussion. So annually we do an evaluation of the superintendent on the previous year. And how it works is within the next week or so, I'll send out to everybody the superintendent performance evaluation, which is based on, the evaluation is based on leadership, communication, supervision of staff, public relations, and finance as they tie into our strategic plan. And Superintendent Evenson has created a document that was superintendent goals that tie into our plan, and so that will also be attached, and it will give evidence of some of the things that she's done to reach those goals. In addition to the goals here that are tied to our strategic plan, we've asked her to come up with 2 specific superintendent goals that she has come up with collaboratively that you will also use in your evaluation. The first one is to lead the state communicated adjustments to Minnesota State Learning Plan. Obviously, with this being COVID this year, it's been, for any superintendent, it's been a huge undertaking. So that will be part of the evaluation process. And then the second part tied into the budgeting process, which too has a lot to do with the COVID year that we've had. And also with Renee Superintendent Evenson being a new superintendent. So what the process will be, I will send you this evaluation electronically. I hope that it will be in a Word document. So if you can respond in the Word document and then send it back to me, I'll give you a couple weeks to do that, and then I will anonymously assimilate all of the comments and all of the scores, and then it will be at our first meeting in June. We'll wait until then to go into closed session to have a discussion on the evaluation with the superintendent. So the first meeting in May is a little too soon. Actually, Renee is only into her 11th month here, so we need to give her a little more time. And the second meeting in May will be our honoring our retirees, and are we doing a tour that night, or that we decided we're going to do a walkthrough?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, so that meeting is pretty busy, plus it's a special meeting and a workshop meeting, so would that be appropriate to go into closed session for that? So, any questions about the process? I really encourage you to add comments, constructive comments, because I think that helps a lot in the process. The evaluation are based on a score of 1 to 5. And I know that that's real subjective, you know, my 5 might be Ryan's 4 or whatever, so just use your best judgment, and if you have questions, just reach out to me and let me know. So, any questions at all about the process? No? Okay. Good, thanks. Then we will move on to annual fundraiser review. Superintendent Evenson.
All right, Chair Polly, members of the board, good evening. Nice to see you tonight. Annually, our school district reviews at the board table the fundraisers that have been approved for the upcoming school year. I thought we could start, everything we do is grounded in policy, and I'm just going to quickly review what that looks like. And it talks about responsibility, and it talks about building administrators being responsible for developing recommendations to the superintendent that result in the level of activity deemed acceptable by employees, parents, and students. And fundraising must be conducted in a manner that will not result in embarrassment on the part of the individual students, employees, or school. All fundraising activities must be approved in advance by administration. Participation in non-approved activities shall be considered a violation of district policy. The superintendent shall be responsible for providing coordination of the student fundraising throughout the school district as deemed appropriate. The school district expects all students who participate in approved fundraising activities to represent the school, the student organization, and the community in a responsible manner. All rules pertaining to student conduct and student discipline extend to the student fundraising activities. The school district expects all employees who plan, supervise, coordinate, or participate in fundraising activities to act in the best interest of the students and to represent the school, the student organization, and the community in a responsible manner. And so I'm here tonight fulfilling the next component. The superintendent shall report to the school board at least annually on the nature and scope of student fundraising activities approved pursuant to this policy. So this is something that happens every school year. So the other attachment in the work session materials includes a PDF of our working document. So as a district, one of the things that was really helpful is that we really keep a running document of fundraisers that we are aware of and have been approved throughout the district. I think an important thing to note is COVID-19 has really shifted what fundraising has looked like for at least the last year or more. Many things did not happen after March of 2020, and many things did not happen this year. So as I met with administration, we looked at what was all on the list, and we did our best to tidy up that list, but we made some strategic choices to leave certain things that haven't occurred in the last year or two on the list, because we don't know what next year will bring. And so there are a few things that didn't happen this year or didn't happen in the previous year, but they might happen next year, and we felt appropriate to leave that. The other thing that I'll note is we did break up the list by building. So there's a JES section, there's a JMS section, there's a JMS/JHS section, and then there's also a JHS section. With that, you'll also see some color banding. For example, some of these activities really aren't coordinated by Jordan Public Schools. We have many 50, what's the number, 501c3? Woo, said that. That really have their own organization and their own structures. However, our students do participate and our students do benefit from those, and we felt like it was appropriate to make sure that those are noted. Some examples might be the boosters. They do a ton for our schools and programs. Other things like the PTO would be another example of that. We haven't added on the foundation this year. I wanted to have that conversation. They're a newer organization. Last year, COVID didn't help much. There wasn't much happening this year. They are doing a really cool thing with grad grants that we will likely add to this list after this evening, and then continue to partner with that. I also know that there may be some fundraisers that have been put in place with boosters that may not be noted on here yet. And I know that the boosters are looking at all of their fundraisers and how they're going to move forward. So that'll be a conversation between the booster president and myself at a certain point, so we can make sure that we have everything noted. I will say we have a very generous community. Actually, it's very incredible the level of support that we have on a daily basis from our community. In looking at some of the questions that I've received from board members recently, it was good to analyze and look at it. We know that in the fall, the majority of the fundraisers do happen, which is really hard sometimes when you think about back to school so darn expensive for a variety of reasons. So that is one point of note that I saw as well. We did also leave things on this list, and I will say this list was generated before my tenure here in Jordan Public Schools. I didn't feel like it was a good time to change the format yet. I wanted to provide a familiar document that you've seen in the past. But we did leave things on there like fundraisers where we raise money for organizations, Pennies for Patients, or the food shelf where we collect things and give to the food shelf. Because it is an ask of our community, it's not necessarily funds generated for our schools, but I felt like it was appropriate, unless I hear from you otherwise, to leave that on there because it is something we ask of our community. So I thought, knowing that, let's look at JES. I have Melissa here for any questions. Knowing what we have here, do you have any questions about elementary before we move to middle school?
Melissa, I did have a question about the Artsonia Art Fair.
Yes?
That's a company that provides this for us. What is the percentage that actually comes back to the school?
That's a great question. Kristen Children, our art teacher, would probably have a better understanding of that. I'm not sure if Amy does at this point, as far as, when that money is collected and what stays in her account versus what's paid out to that organization. So I don't have that right now. I apologize. I can get it for you because
Okay, thank you.
yep.
This is Amy, by the way. I don't believe that it hasn't been very active yet this year, but I can email you all of what was made in prior years or like last year up until the COVID time. We don't pay anything to Artsonia. I believe that their money just comes off of the top and then they give us the commission. And I would really have no idea what that is, but I can definitely let you know how much that we have in that account and how much is brought in like by year.
That'd be great, Amy. Thank you. I knew you'd probably know more than I would.
I'd like to just add,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
sorry. I can definitely get that information for you.
No, I just want to add that I don't have an elementary school student right now, but when I did have one, I thought that was one of the greatest fundraisers because you got to, I got the luggage tags every single year for that, and it's one of those things as a parent I wanted to spend money on because it was something that I could keep for a keepsake for my child and still benefit the school.
I would have been one of those moms too. Yeah.
I bought every framed art at the art.
And I really like that the PTO for middle school is still doing that readathon because it's an academic-based type fundraiser that still goes back to support academics for the JES PTO. Or JES.
Looking back at emails, because I am an elementary parent, it does say 20% back. Thank you.
Thanks, Hope.
So any further discussion on elementary before I shift to middle? Okay. So I'll have Hope scroll up to middle level. And if you want me to drive, I can drive too. It's up to you. And so you can see there, there were several activities at the middle level as well. You can see the fundraisers going out of the district, like I referenced the Pennies for Patients. Those are just really good deeds and good things that our kids are doing to support our community. Jump Rope for Heart is another good example of that. And then the book fair is always super helpful. Kids love the book fair. I actually really love the book fair as a parent myself because I love buying books for my kids and I love books. But the Wolf Ridge fundraisers, of course, they were paused this year because, COVID. And then, should Wolf Ridge be scheduled in the future, I'm sure those fundraisers would begin again. Any questions on middle level? Okay. All right. Middle and high school is another area. You can see with the band and choir, there is some collaboration there at the JMS and JHS level. We have the fruit sales, Club's Choice, the fire department open house, and then the bagging at Cub Foods. Those service ones are really popular, where kids can actually go and do things, and it's usually quick funds, which is really nice opportunity. Plus, it's really good for our community to see our kids and different communities to see Jordan kids. Because they're awesome. So any questions on this segment? Okay. And then the last section with JHS, again, at the high school level, it's very typical and common to have more fundraising. There are more activities, more student groups, and more needs. And so they're usually really resourceful at the high school level. We have a lot of support from the boosters, but also some of our student organizations do some really neat things. You can see the list there, everything from script sales to grocery store bagging to plant sales. which I think was a newer one this last year. I will say so many things have been paused just because of COVID-19. We did leave many things on the list because we really are positive and hopeful that next year will be more of a typical school year and we'll be able to do some of these things. Again, you'll see some things, the ones where we're doing good deeds for others, some of the outreach components, the food drives. I think those are also really important, even just learning activities for our students. And then also you can see so many of the booster ones as well. We did leave the JO volleyball one. We haven't had JO volleyball. We had a lengthy discussion. Do we take it off? Do we leave it on? We thought let's get into fall, see what happens this fall, and then if again we don't have it, we would remove that for next year. But we did have a long conversation about that. And then I think some of these did happen. I'm pretty sure I bought pizza at some point, a Heggie's pizza from somebody. And then there are some of those organizations, again, outside of the boosters, like the all-night grad party. They do an incredible job supporting our kids. My goodness, they just did like this incredible food truck thing. And so we're very fortunate to have that. And then the last component, it's just a little note about fundraising procedures. We would anticipate that any new fundraisers would be communicated to the administrator because they need to bring that to the superintendent. It would be a very irregular thing for a fundraiser to happen that we wouldn't know about if it's a school district level fundraiser. I can't think of a circumstance that would happen at the school district level. It is possible that an outside group might do something and be like, I wonder if we talk to the school. But oftentimes those groups need information from the schools and need support, so that's kind of how we organically find out and talk through those things. But this is an ongoing document for us. We will update it throughout the year. I anticipate adding Jordan Foundation information on that. But annually we will bring this likely to the April meeting. Any questions?
Can you double check with Amy Peters on the phone books? Because I don't believe those are in print anymore, so I kind of feel like this one is inactive, and the only reason I know that is my daughter went on the Spanish trip and we wanted to do that for one of the fundraisers, and she said that was canceled.
Well, that's
so
good.
I feel like
Yeah.
that one's truly an
Sure.
inactive one that should probably be removed.
I will double check that. I feel like, Jeff, we talked about the phone books and I kind of giggled about the phone books because I haven't seen one in like 5 years.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh my goodness, they still make phone books. So, Jeff, do you recall that conversation?
Yep, I remember us talking about it. I can certainly follow up with Amy. Yeah, and it's my own, we haven't done fundraising hardcore for Spanish Club for a couple of years now because we've been on pause, so.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
And then can you scroll up a little bit? I just want to, I thought I saw something else. A little more. A little more. Oh, okay, so like the Halloween and the Frosty dance at the middle school, has that changed to like an activity night, or are we still doing something at that middle school?
I can answer that. So it would be done through student council at the middle school if we would do that. But it would be an activity night for students. And then, it wouldn't be necessarily a fundraising situation if that were the case. It would just be an activity for kids. So there would be a dance, there'd be gym, different things happening around the building.
Okay.
The last one we did was 2 years ago with that.
Yeah. So that's not like a fundraiser.
So that's another shift. Yep.
Okay.
But if Amy would want, or if the Spanish Club would choose to do it, we wanted to still provide them that opportunity to do that.
Okay.
Strictly for information. Yep. We absolutely can do that. That would not be a problem.
But wait, yeah.
Oh, sure. Informational workshop, probably. Yeah.
And I think it's good for us to review this and see it. I think it's good for us to review this and see it, and I think it's a really good balance of projects that are done like clearing tables at Pizza Ranch, where, you know, people come to you instead of not all the door knocking things. That's how we kind of got on this several years ago, that we wanted to get away from so many of the door knocking things. And so I think it's a good balance, and I don't think the door knocking is overdone, so.
I think it's also really a nice, even if it's just a brief conversation, that we have these activities occurring.
Yep.
It's also nice to take just a minute and say thank you publicly. Our community has been just phenomenal in supporting so many efforts and things, and it's just really appreciated. And this is just a small, short list of some of the things that they've supported for our kids.
Yes.
I think it's good that, I think it's good that we go over the list, even if we do it briefly, because for a while people were forgetting to submit trips and stuff. And we were getting really short notice time for turnaround for your insurance and everything like that. So I think it's really good that the staff and leadership knows that we look at this and that we know what's going on in the district. Because it makes the teachers or the people that are taking the trips or planning the field trips be accountable to get the proper approval process. So.
It's a good point.
Yep, and I also think it's good to review annually, as you just said. If we're noticing as you're going through this, a lot of them are happening in the fall. That is an expensive time back to school as well.
Yep.
You know, as new ones come in, do we shift the timing of some, and do we have to look at that differently?
Yep, it's a good conversation piece for that. And of course, some you really need to have happen at a certain time in a certain season. But absolutely, I think just having that awareness helps us make better decisions.
Yep.
I just want to give a plug to the Booster Club, only in the fact that they are so active and engaged in our community.
Yeah.
And they are always looking to get new volunteers that will be active and engaging and come up with new ideas for them to fundraise and things like that. And so I know that they're looking for volunteers.
Good to know.
Sandy, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Jeff had to leave because he had to go get the presentation ready, but he put in the chat that the phone book fundraiser is done, and Amy said she was going to take it off the list.
Oh. Good to know.
Also, I know at one time we talked about combining the baseball and the football goal carts. I don't know if I since left the Booster Club, but that would make it one less time, for them to have to come, but I
How many do you got, Connie?
I don't have any right now.
I usually get 2 a year.
I have 2 right now.
I've had a few, and I used to say the first kid up the driveway, but then they came together one night, and I was like, oh, I got my own. All good.
Perfect.
Anything else?
I don't, unless there are any further questions. I don't. I just wanted to say thank you because it's been a good discussion, and we will make the updates based on our conversation tonight, adding the foundation, removing the phone book that we learned was inactive, and we will monitor ongoing and revisit per policy next spring.
And just a shout out and a thank you to the point persons that got up and that run these, because it's a lot of work, so.
It
thank
is.
you to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd just like to say thank you to Renee and to Amy and to anybody else who just investigated all the questions and all of that, because I know that took a lot of time during a very busy time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Good. Well, that was a quick meeting. Good night, everybody.